guys, and welcome back to the GCOR Show. Today we're going to be doing a post-race review of the most recent GCOR Grand Prix at Mexico, and also a race preview for the upcoming and the final Grand Prix of the GCOR Gen.3 Season 2 season at Brazil. First things first, what a race we had at Mexico, from a neutral point of view at least. I mean, we had almost everything. In qualifying, we had the rain where Vexo, yes, I said Vexo, also known as Jaden Jen, he managed to not only drive in GCOR for the first time in about a year and a half, maybe even a little bit more than a year and a half. His last race actually was in Vietnam, so that was race 9 out of 10 in the first gen of the first season of GCOR. It wasn't even called GCOR back then. So yeah, it had been a while since he was in the car. But yeah, first time being back in the car for him. And the Australian managed to bag pole position by 0.007 seconds, which I think surely it has to be the closest margin of gap between pole and P2. P2, it was Foop. So qualifying was really good in intermediate conditions, and the race from a neutral perspective was great. I mean, we had action literally lap 1, turn 1, Chicona 75, spinning, making contact with Foop and Hurricane. At first thoughts, I did think Foop was at fault, but obviously lap 1, turn 1, it can get very busy, and I think Stewards just said that was going to be a racing incident, which is fair. You know, lap 1, turn 1 can be quite hectic, quite chaotic, and Chick eventually managed to find his way back into P2 after battling Foop. Now, this is where the controversy starts between Chiconas and Foop. Foop all race, he was very aggressive with Chick, and I'm not gonna lie, Chick was also aggressive with Foop. You know, it was quite good racing for a lot of the race between Foop and Chiconas. I think both drivers were being quite aggressive, but then come the final stints, I think Foop crossed the line. Ended up cutting some of the corners. Ended up just driving unlike Foop, taking unnecessary risks, just pushing too hard, and of course, I'm sure Red Bull must have said, the hierarchy at Red Bull must have said, you got to help Dino Bambino and ultimately the team to win both championships. Same thing must have been said to Ollie Freeman as well. Help Chiconas win the championship and help the team win the constructors. But I think Foop, he stepped over the line, Chick was, he was actually catching up to Dino Bambino. Foop was taking unnecessary risks, and eventually, after a whole race of fighting, Foop ended up taking Chick out. And, when I first saw it, I thought it was, Foop doing it deliberately. But now you go back and rewatch it, he does try to get the car slowed down, but obviously it's not enough. And because of what he was doing earlier in the race, just being, very, very aggressive, and also even after what happened with him and I think it was Hurricane, and even receiving a 27-second penalty, I think this race definitely will be one for Foop to forget. I have said many times, and even though he has gone and taken Chick out, not only of the race, but potentially out of this championship. I mean, the championship gap going into the final race is now 12 points. I'm going to, stick with my word. I think Foop is a clean driver. I do say that with a little bit of hesitation now, but I do think he's still a clean driver. It was just one bad weekend where he lost his head. And also, he is, as we've seen, his pace is phenomenal, especially in qualifying, Since the Gen.3 season started, Gen.3 era started, he's got the joint most pole positions with his teammate Dino Bambino. And I think actually Foop has the most pole positions this season with 3. So it does show that Foop has quali pace. Race pace is good as well. Not as good as his quali pace, but race pace is still good. And Foop's, yeah, he's been given a race ban. He's going to be missing the final round of the season. But I do think he'll come back stronger next season, and well, who knows? Maybe he might be fighting for this championship. Um, Talking about Red Bull, Dino Bambino getting his 4th win of the season, his 2nd win in 3 races. I think the Dino Bambino of old, the Dino Bambino we know of taking the lead of the race, dominating the entire race, has returned. And this win was massive. This win was massive. Going into Mexico, the gap was 2 points. Leaving Mexico, the gap's 12 points. In his favor between himself and Chiconas. So definitely he has the advantage going into the final race of the season. However, him and Red Bull cannot get complacent. Don't forget, it is a sprint race at Interlagos, and if we're going to take anything out of that, or at least going into Interlagos, Chiconas 75 does like a little sprint race win at Interlagos, getting the last 2 sprint race wins at Interlagos. Obviously, last season we didn't have a sprint race there, but the 2 seasons before that, managed to get the 2 wins. So I guess that's just stats, and at the end of the day, stats don't really matter. You know, stats are just things that we look at when we're bored, just things that we like analyzing. But as soon as you get out on track, stats, they don't mean anything, and the only way we'll find out if Chick can claw anything back is by watching the race on Saturday. Chick, however, he still has a chance of winning the championship. Obviously, it gets to the point where he's gonna need a miracle, well, a slight miracle. You know, obviously, he's just gonna have to push hard, head down, focus, try and get the 25 points and even the additional 8 from the sprint race. But he's gonna need some luck. He's gonna need Dino Bambino to struggle a little bit. He's gonna need Dino Bambino to have a little bit of an off weekend, or something, because 12 points, it's not the biggest, but if you want to overcome that over one weekend, the gap's quite big. I'm sure Chick and GN7 believe they can do it going into the finale, and I mean, mathematically, and even, I wouldn't say realistically, but it is doable. It is doable. And anything to go from last season is that Chick and Dino's pace quite similar, you know, around Interlagos. So that should be a good one. But yeah, anyways, to wrap up this GCOR show, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, final race of the season will be this coming Saturday at Interlagos, where Chick will either secure his 4th World Championship with a miracle, or Dino Bambino can secure his 2nd World Championship. So yeah, it's all on the line. Hope to see you next time. Oh yeah, and also the end of season presentation in a couple of weeks' time. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, with that said, thank you for listening and goodbye.